Good evening, everyone. We're calling tonight's meeting into order. Mr. Zeski, could the roll call for the quorum?
Sure. Mr. Grippo?
Here.
Ms. Ham? Ms. Harrigan?
Here. Sorry.
That's okay. Mr. Martelli? Mr. Perugini?
Here.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Here.
And Mr. White? Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Looking forward to an awesome showcase here at Highland. But before we get into that, if we have any members of the public that wish to address the board of ed, you're welcome to do so at this time. We ask you to come to the podium, state your name and address, and love to hear from you. See, we have none. We're going to move on to the good stuff. So let's get to the showcase. Thank you, Ron.
Well, welcome everyone. Showcases are always a great night for us because we really get to bring to life what is happening in our schools. And tonight we have our fabulous elementary administrative team here to share with you some instructional shifts, some instructional practices, a strategy that we're using to help students make their thinking visible. And before I introduce them and they come up and take us through this wonderful activity they have prepared, I was looking through this book that we've been using that is going to be brought to life for you today. And I wanted to just bring you through where we started a few years ago, more than a few years ago, as we're talking about complex thinking. Jeff had gotten learning walks started in our district, and we were going into classrooms, and we knew when we saw it that kids were thinking complexly. But it took us some time to define what that meant and what that looked like. And in this book, we saw a lot of, and in this book they illustrate that, in all of those observations, we saw a lot of students who were busy. They were busy with worksheets, or they were busy writing, or they were busy taking notes. But we weren't always sure that they were busy thinking. And so tonight, the team is going to take you through some strategies as to how we are making sure that kids are doing the thinking. So come on up, team.
Brandon, would you like to join us? There we go. That's your cue, Brandon. That's your cue too. All right. So welcome everyone. Welcome to the showcase. Tonight we're going to, and Marlene shared a lot of the things we're going to talk about today, but we're going to share some of the work that we've been doing across all of our elementary schools that focuses on high quality instruction and complex thinking. And so looking at the agenda, we're going to dig in a bit on high quality instruction and some of the strategies we use to provide actionable professional development across our schools, as well as strategies for making thinking visible within our classrooms. We're also going to put you to work. So we're going to get you up and active just like the students. So if you didn't come prepared to think, we're going to make you think tonight. And so that's one of the things we hope to do. And then we'll talk briefly about some of the research that we are doing, or some of the research behind the work we're doing, and then show you some examples from the classroom. So let's get started. Sure.
So as Marlene mentioned, this is the book that the schools are reading this year, Building Thinking Classrooms by Peter Liljedahl. It's actually the #1 bestseller on Amazon right now in educational books. And teachers are digging in. It's a very easy to read, practical book that aligns closely with our complex thinking and social emotional learning. Students are engaging in activities that promote discourse among each other. They're making thinking visible on vertical whiteboards, and they're building self-efficacy through the collaboration that they're doing. So I'll let Amy and Kristen talk a little bit more about the strategies we use.
So like Erica mentioned, Building Thinking Classrooms is the resource that we're using throughout the district to help teachers make thinking visible in their classrooms. This is based on years and years of research. and it came down to 14 teaching practices. And each chapter is really broken up into a different practice. This year, at the elementary level, we're really focusing on the first 3 chapters, which we're going to be able to show you firsthand today as you're working through some of the vertical whiteboard activities. But starting with a grapple problem and visibly random groups, and then using the vertical non-permanent surfaces.
And our schools all are in a little different place of how we're doing this. So at Doolittle, we're focused on the first 3 chapters, where teachers have read those chapters that have been practicing that in their classrooms. And all of our professional development throughout the year and at talks at our grade level team meetings are focused on this and how it could be incorporated in all of our subject areas, reading, math, social sciences, and all those different places. So the students have that opportunity to show what they're thinking, and soon you'll have a chance to see what we mean by that, by showing how we were thinking tonight.
So before we get you working, I want to introduce 2 people we thought that would be really important in getting you up and moving, people who do this every day in the classroom. So I want to introduce Fran Hauser from Norton, teacher of 6th grade, right? Fifth. And also Jessica Atlas, who's our K-6 math coach. So you want to come up and we'll get us started.
Hi, I'm Fran Hauser, and I teach 5th grade math at Norton. And one of the things that we do to get the kids up and thinking is a thinking task. They get to the boards, and they have a task they have to do, and there's collaboration from the kids. They're talking. As far as grouping is concerned, we do randomized grouping because we want the kids to work with everybody at all levels and just to promote that collaboration and that thinking. We use the vertical whiteboards. So what I'm going to do is going to get you up and thinking. What the tasks that we do, the kids are going to go to the boards, and I give them a card, they get a color, they're going to go to the board that has that color. And on the board, you'll see there's also some whiteboard expectations. Person that has the marker, there's going to be one person with the marker. That person's going to do the writing and not the talking. The other people are going to do the talking. If the person wants to write, because they have something they have to say that's important, you're going to pass the marker to somebody else. And the idea is for everybody to offer what they think they need to do in order to solve this problem, some ideas, and to collaborate that information, and then get your answers up on the board and just show your work.
The research shows that when students are standing, they're thinking better, so we're going to practice with you, and you can think for yourself. So we'll go ahead.
All right, you ready? Right here. Try to go through what their strategy was, and you can take a look at your boards and see if your strategy is related to what they did. Somewhere in there, I'm looking around, we have some connections. Okay? So, go ahead, explain what you did.
So I'll stop.
One of you, go ahead.
So we started with knowing that because there are no remainders with 7s, it had to be a multiple of 7. And because the 2s have 1 left over, we realized pretty quickly that it had to be an odd number. So we went from there and just started doing some multiples of 7, just trial and error, starting with 21, 35, what were the odd multiples of 7, and figuring out what kind of remainders you get. So 2 can go up to 30. If it was 35, 2 can go up to 34 with a remainder of 1. It worked all the way up until we got to number 5, and you didn't get a remainder of 4. So from there, Ryan started looking a little more.
And before that, I was just trying to keep track of, some of the rules that, Dan was saying as far as like, it has to be this, and Tim was saying, you tried that out, and we were just writing this down. Okay, so we know it can't be any of these numbers. So just keeping track of their thinking out here. And then we went back to the rules, and like Dan said, we knew that it could not be an odd number, had to be a multiple of 7, or it can't be an even number, had to be a multiple of 7. And then we looked at the 5s, and it said, if it is in groups of 5, there's 4 left over. So since every multiple of 5 ends in either 0 or 5, and there were 4 left over, that means that our product had to end in either 9 or 4. It could not end in 4 because it could not be an even number, so it had to end in 9. We'd already tried 49, so then Tim said, okay, you know, what's the next number that is a multiple of 7, ends in 9. We went from there, 119. You can see we tried some of the problems to see if the remainders matched the rules as far as what was left over, and it did, 119.
How many?
Well done.
Oh, brilliant. How many of you, with a show of hands, started with those multiples of 7 because you knew that's what it had to be? Okay, can we look at the blue board too? Because I'm really thrilled with the blue board. All right. So who's the blue board? Who started doing that? Oh, see, you were onto something. You were onto something. So they started with multiples of 7 as well, and then they decided to do multiples of 2. And what did you hope to gain? By 6, 3s, 4s, 5s. Find the what? Find the common number. So this is another strategy that you could have used just by listing all of the multiples, and then you would have found.
Is that what you were doing too?
29. So we're 29. You're
Yeah.
dividing this out. We got
So part of the thinking classrooms is to provide the kids with a thinking task. And sometimes it's a thinking task like this where I don't actually end up explaining anything in the end. They're just up and they're just thinking. And then other times it's related to the lesson that I'm going to be teaching, and then I will go ahead and teach from whatever board looks like it's getting me to where I want it to go. But the whole point is the collaboration and to get the kids to be thinking, and part of it is productive struggle as well. What do you know and what can you apply in your learning to get to where you want to be?
So what did you notice as a learner when you were doing this? How did you feel? What did you notice about yourself as a learner? Just you could shout it
I
out.
deferred. I mean, I shut up because I'm so far behind. And I'm curious, what is the old way of doing it? Because
The old way of doing it would be me putting a problem on the board. So, for instance, today we were estimating quotients today. So it would be me saying, this is how we estimate quotients, and demonstrating a problem, and then giving them a problem, and they would do the problem, and then I would walk them through it. It was a mimic, and it wasn't a whole lot of thinking. It was more of, open up their heads and pour it.
And I didn't mean to deflect from your question
That's okay.
because I really was like, what are you guys talking about? It's been that
But
long.
that's the thing, but it was also great that you had 2 people there to talk to them and say, well, I'm really lost right now. Can you explain your thinking and what you were doing? So at least you had your partners to kind of talk things through instead of just kind of sitting at your desk and head down while you're done, So you had other people to talk to and work with.
And she's still actively involved.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So even as and I think we each took turns doing the writing and doing the talking.
Right.
So even though she feels that she deferred, she was still
Maybe
contributing
doing
to
the
the
writing,
work.
right, yeah. It's still a part of that conversation.
So is this a 5th grade problem?
6th grade, non-curricular.
Is it though?
Yeah.
Because so they've already done factoring, you've already, yes.
It's incorporating a lot of those skills, but it's not part of the actual curriculum.
Right. And that's.
First day of
This is
6th
a
grade, so really 5th grade.
Yeah.
What's
So
that?
thank you. So really what it's doing is you're trying to find out from the kids, what do they know already? What do they know already and what can they apply? And someone who is deferring though is soaking that up and maybe saying to themselves, oh, I didn't know I could do it that way. It also highlights the different processes. You've got someone over there doing some high school math I cannot do over there, and then you have other kids solving it this way. There's no one way to solve it. It's just your thinking on how you're going to get there, and the collaboration of someone saying, what if we try this? And the other kid saying, oh, okay, or, oh, that's a good idea, I didn't think about that.
I appreciated as a learner being able to see that someone else was doing what we were doing, sort of validated our thinking, and I think that kind of helped us keep going.
Yes.
As well.
Did anybody look around? Did you look around to see what other people were doing? Yeah.
And we're so conditioned not to do that,
Yeah.
not to look at someone's paper, but it's okay to share ideas, and I think that's really important.
How else did you feel as a learner? What else did you notice about yourself as a learner?
I think, I was gonna say persistence, like, I wanted to figure out when you called everybody to stop and you kept working.
I know, I saw this group over here, she was like, forget the rest of you, I want to finish this over here.
We're that close.
Yeah, right, it just helps you with that perseverance.
Yeah, so there wasn't that quick to get frustrated or quick to give up.
Yeah.
As a group, I felt we were each supporting each other.
Mike, did you want to share something?
We all had our own system. We all went back to systems thinking.
I learned that when I'm really, really, really tired, I don't sit on. That's why we do math in the morning.
So, one of the things, just want to thank Jess and Fran for facilitating this activity. I just personally noticed just so many people engaged and up, and that's what we see in the classrooms. And the other thing is, I think it was brought up, but the groups, the randomized groups, the important thing is it takes away control of, I'm excited to be with my best friend, or I hope I'm with my best friend. Instead, you're randomly grouped, and frequently that randomization changes so that they don't really know, and different people step up at different times to show their strengths, and that's really an important part of what this activity shows too.
Let me ask you a question with my Board of Ed hat on. As we come to budget season, are our classrooms well enough equipped to do these kind of activities? We have all the whiteboard space that we need in the classroom. We have
Space, no, but whiteboards. So I'll just say for Iowa, these are called whiteboards. I know they're used in different places around the district. They're a little hardier. They last a little bit longer. Our PTO purchase for grades 3 through 6. So our next request would be grades K through 2. And so all classrooms have, I think, 5 or 6. And so they can roll them up. They can keep around the room.
Right now, we don't have 5 or 6 per classroom.
We do grades 3 through 6, and then we're improvising in the other grade levels. And pagers tape, that's really important.
I think Tyler could speak for Morgan that we have the whiteboard. Yeah, we have whiteboards and I use my budget money, that's not going to purchase ones that are like easels or bones. And I had, years ago, Kelly had gotten me a huge one in the back of my room, so I have stations, I have 7 stations.
And we've been using the roll.
The roll ones, yeah,
up
that's what I used
system
last year.
and for the last couple of years too. Started this. Yep.
Last
This
year,
is gonna
that
be
was
great
our
for coordinate
conversation.
planning.
Yeah,
And
because when you're doing
Yeah.
the coordinate planning,
How do you do that?
it was really, even whether you were on the whiteboard or, because then it turned into hours of drawing instead of doing math.
So at this time, we'll have you go back to your seats. We'll wrap up our presentation and continue that.
I was going to say that.
Go right. There you go.
Messing around. You're drawing on
I have to resist the urge not to teach. That's the problem.
Blur out faces to protect you. I don't want to know what you
So one of the things I think it's important just to talk about is, one, what did you notice about how the task was facilitated? So as you were working, what did you notice about the people, the administrators walking around, the teachers like Fran? What did you notice? What was she doing at the time when you were working? Standing back, letting you go.
Obviously, we're going to see answers without any release.
Yeah.
But I know we're going to some hits.
Good.
And that's a question that I was out to sort of number.
Some
So I
problems.
got to think a little bit more. Force us to think through more versus.
So prompting without giving you the answer.
Right.
Good. Yeah. Good. Anything else that you notice? I think that what I noticed when Fran was, especially listening to Fran, she's an expert, she does it every day, but just those prompting questions keep that thinking rolling. And the other thing that's important to notice is as we have this set up around the room and students are up at boards, it's important to notice that, or for a teacher, we can see where kids are struggling, and we can notice different things that are happening throughout the room. We can prompt them to go look at other boards. So there's a lot of things you can do as a facilitator, as a teacher, during these activities to get to know more about your kids.
What is the time you dedicate to this versus the actual instruction?
Sure. I would probably, where's Fran?
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. So typically what happens is we have like that little thinking task at the beginning, like 10 or 15 minutes. And I don't always go give an answer to it. Sometimes it's literally just a thinking task. If it has something to do with the lesson that I'm going to be teaching that day, I'll use one of the kids' boards and I'll use that as a jumping off spot, and I'll teach the lesson from there. And then
Can you just talk a little bit louder?
Can't hear me? I'm sorry.
That's all right. We need your teacher voice.
I know I'm usually loud. And so after that, we go to, after the lesson is taught, and I might do an example with the kids on what I'm teaching, and then we go to something called thin slicing, and they have folders, and there's problems in the folders, and the kids go back to the big boards, and they solve problems on the big board. Those would be the problems that I would be typically, in the past, they'd be sitting on the carpet, and I would be putting a problem on the board, and they'd be solving on their personal whiteboard, and I'd be checking everybody's work. Now they do them on the big boards, and that's when I go around and I facilitate all that. And I'm looking for kids who are struggling. I'm hitting my SRBI kids. And then they go to independent work. So my math, it's like 60-minute math period. Cycle right through.
Is a problem like that an introduction to a subject or after they've been studying the subject?
If I do a thinking task?
Yeah.
My thinking task is something that they don't know anything about that I need, that they're going to be taught later on. It's coming up. Yeah, so this would be a non-curricular, I mean, it's a math one, but we would consider that a non-curricular because in the end I wouldn't use it for anything. But sometimes I have thinking tasks that are what I call the end of topic thinking tasks. So it's what they need to know by the time they get to the end of the topic. But I give it to them at the beginning, and then I teach from there.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
You're all set.
So I'm going to continue on, and we're going to describe to you some of the elements of high-quality instruction. And I'm going to talk about complex tasks. Teachers create the conditions for complex thinking by planning learning tasks that require students to think critically, analyze information, and synthesize concepts. An example of what this could look like could be in an activity that I actually observed this morning when I was visiting a 4th grade classroom. The class is going to be visiting our state capitol in a couple weeks, and the students were asked this morning to find out what the total cost of their field trip was going to be. The teacher only provided the cost per student, and as I was in the classroom, I was watching them think on their whiteboards. I could hear their complex thinking. They were working in small groups, and they were discussing what other information they needed to solve this problem, such as, well, we need to know the number of students that are going. They were debating with each other about which multiplication strategies that they should use. So that was a great example of some complex thinking in action. As you just experienced with the task with the random groups, Mrs. Hauser had used the different colors to break you up by different colored boards. You know, many teachers use a computer randomizer, which just scrambles up the students' names to have different groups each time, or there's also cards you can use, matching it by the number or by the suit of the deck. So we have that, and the purpose, as Scott said, was to break up that locus of control. When you're entering a group with a different group of students each time, there's not a set leader. You're not necessarily relying on one person. You're using all the people's strategies and work to come up with your answers together. Typically in grades K to 2, a small group would be 2 students, which is just because of their developmental ages and the parallel play. And then in grades 3 and higher, it would be a group of 3, as you just experienced tonight.
So just as Jody was saying how we don't always want the kids to be in a group with a set leader, we also don't always want the teacher to be the set leader. And so some of the work that we're going into now, in fact at Norton we'll be moving into chapters 4 and 5 of the book next week during our professional development. One of the things we'll be talking about a lot is defronting the classroom. And it is exactly what you guys did naturally when you were back there and you were all looking at the whiteboards. Because when you defront the classroom, you take away that like teacher podium and teacher desk and the smart board that the teacher is in control and everything's in the front of the room. Now, when you defront the classroom, you've got clusters of desks in the middle of the room, like you were all standing, and then the perimeter is empty so that you have plenty of room for the vertical thinking. And it's just much more collaborative and encourages the complex thinking that we're looking for.
So I think at this point we want to show you some examples from the classroom.
Yep. So these are some pictures from Chapman of some of our students that were doing some great complex thinking tasks. And I just had to add a quote in from one of our 4th grade teachers. We were talking about the vertical whiteboards and the tasks that her class was doing, and she said that Building Thinking Classrooms, which is the resource that we've been using, has really allowed her students to take the wheel when it comes to complex thinking and problem solving. And she said with teacher guidance and support, learning comes alive through collaboration with peers, and that she felt that this type of instructional environment really allowed her students to take responsibility for their learning, and she said she can really see their thinking come to life and she can see it in action. And these are just some pictures from Doolittle. Also, you can see using the vertical whiteboards and some great complex thinking in action. And then we just have some pictures from Norton, and my point, this is from our 3rd grade class, and the point that I made was just look at how proud they are of their work. They're all standing there with their markers, they have big smiles, they're proud of what they did with their groups and on the whiteboards.
Maya, we have a couple videos.
Yes, it's what I
Here they're using the boards to draw it out, go through the productive struggle.
So,
next the teacher is prompted.
here's the tip that I'm going to give you. If you do it, and it were a number, where would we put that number on the side? Where else would we put that? Okay? And we would put it along our length again. Instead of writing a number, let's use the letter W. And I want you to put the letter W everywhere where you would write that width length in your diagram. You might want to think about this side too. See if that helps you figure out what that width could be.
And the last
You
one,
say dividing. Why do you want to divide?
continuing to work through the same problem. This is a 4th grade curriculum problem.
I saw Adam pointing to these 4 W's here. Are these the only W's in our group? No. So there's technically well, how many W's? Okay. There are 10 copies of W in the perimeter. Maddie, what are you thinking? Isn't 30 divided by 10? Why? Why do you think we should do 30 divided by 10? Johnny just got to the same thing.
trying, failing, trying again, and encouraging them to do that, they find their way. And when we consider this compared to, I think, Faith, you asked, like, compared to what we would normally do, on paper, they may fail independently on their own, whereas they're in groups, we find more thinking going on and they're more productive in that environment. But that concludes our presentation for our work, our elementary showcase, and certainly open it up for questions.
Any other questions from the board?
So how do you apply this to other disciplines, English or science or social studies?
I'll leave it open.
Yeah, I can, I was in another classroom this morning, and the third graders were working in small groups, very similar to this. They were actually on the floor working on some whiteboards, and they were asked to compare two characters in a text that they were reading and cite some evidence of some similarities and differences. And again, they were debating with each other about those similarities and differences and talking about the characters, and it just generates really rich conversation. So they were complex thinking and analyzing and sharing information, but it was about literature instead of numerals.
And I think I'll add on to that a number of folks in this room are going to be going to some training for humanities teachers this month on how to support this. This was sort of rolled out over the years with a little bit of focus on math for sure. That was part of what was in the title. And we've been to Jeff and I and Kelly and some others have been to sessions where this has been done with ELA. And so we're playing that out. This book sort of started very quietly in the district and then really caught fire. Fran is one of those people. I ran into her, and do you want to just talk about for a second about, you've been teaching for a while,
Yes.
and how you feel about using these new strategies to give a path to complex thinking and making thinking visible?
Sure. So I think it was the beginning of last year, I found the book came to us, and it was a book club, and Alicia was like, put it out as a book club. I said, I'll do it because I teach math and was kind of feeling dry and needed a little lift. So started reading the book and was just hooked on it and was just enthralled with that. This is how math should be. It was just coming to life, and the kids were going to be more involved. So last year I dabbled with it a little bit and was just thrilled with the results that I was getting and the collaboration the kids were having and how they were working together, and that complex thinking that was coming from it, where they had to just think about math rather than me telling them about math, because so much of the curriculum was just say this, say this. And what I found I met with Alicia at the end of last year and said, okay, how can we just rewrite the curriculum to make this work? And we really figured out that Eureka in and of itself is the perfect resource. It has all of the elements that we have, and we're already doing it. So I just dissected Eureka a different way and presenting it differently to the kids.
Thank you for that, because I think what drives all of this is our two key focus areas, complex thinking and social emotional learning. And I think when Fran talks about those deep engaging learning tasks in the curriculum, we've talked to you all about CWI and how we're using that time to write to make sure that we're prompting kids to do things differently. Our professional development is all about prompting teachers to look at instruction differently. And our PD day last year, we had elementary, middle, and high school teachers who were enthralled with this strategy, teaching over 80 of our teachers in the district how to use this. And now I will walk through the math department at the high school, and rather than always seeing kids in desks and rows, and there's a time and a place for that, it'll be so loud, and I'll go into the classroom and kids are not even knowing that there's another adult in the room. They're just so busy talking about the math that it's really exciting to see. And I think our thread throughout the showcase this year will show you what this looks like and what different strategies for getting there look like elementary, middle, and high school.
And I know the board has seen are visual on a lot of documents, that intersection of complex thinking and social emotional learning. And we really feel like this practice is the embodiment of that intersection. You know, we think about our theory of action around complex thinking. Really at the core of it, we look to see in our student work complex reasoning, inquiry, problem-solving skills, and the exploration of ideas. And I think if you were trying to label the experience, that's at the heart of what we're doing. The other day, maybe I think it was yesterday actually, at Chapman, we did an exercise like this using an ELA prompt. The teachers engaged in PD around, seeing some of the traditional, maybe like recall, questioning, whole group questioning, and then engaging in this process. And they were like, wow, it's a much different experience for the learner, and gets to these core skills. And I think that's what Marlene's just articulating, is that intersection, the skills they're developing as thinkers, but also the coaching they receive about how to navigate things socially at the board with each other, how to have constructive critical dialogue about an idea, how to support one another in their thinking, is that social emotional component. That's a piece that I see Fran like smiling, like, yeah, they do that at the board, and we have to coach some of that too. So this really felt like the intersection of what we were doing. We can't wait to show you more throughout the rest of the year what it looks like at the middle and high school levels.
And don't get nervous about the task.
Yeah, well, if you think this was hard. No, but does anybody else have any questions, thoughts, or comments? I certainly want to, in particular, thank Fran and Jess for being here and supporting this. All of our elementary administrators for helping put this together. So thank you very much, guys. I'll pass it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Again, on behalf of all of us here on the board, thank you so much for your time. This is a great exercise. And I know it's just important, a small glimpse of what you do for our kids each and every day. It's tremendous. I particularly like the social, emotional part of it, when kids get together and learn to work with each other, all themselves. Those are skills I did not learn when I went through elementary school. Was that mimic model, right? Where teacher said, do this, and you try the best of it to do it. It's a college, right? So I'm glad to see this happen through their grades. I'm glad it carries them through up to middle school, high school, and that's just an important personal confidence building for yourself. Thank you so much for the time and the effort. We can take some notes tonight if you have any questions. So, and again, thank you for being here late. I know you have a long day. I'm not going to keep you any longer. We're trying to get you out here by 8 o'clock. That being said, do I have a motion from the board to adjourn? And second by Faith. All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you, team. Good night.